Hello everyone, welcome to my Batman Arkham Asylum, hard difficulty, no damage walkthrough. This is the final part of the game with the final boss fight against Joker. And Joker's a decent fight, that's what I'll say. I mean, a lot of people shit on him mainly because of the fact that he's not really portrayed in a way that appeals to his stronger characteristics. I mean, he's more of a psychological character, and this game just turns him into a hulking mass that just seems to be more like a brain-dead fool than anything. But that's not the part that I would really judge this fight on. I mean, it's a decent fight, that's what I'll say. And compared to the likes of the Pump Access Room and Poison Ivy's boss fight, Joker doesn't really do anything that I would really consider to be anti-free flow. Like, the whole entire fight does complement the free flow combat of Batman, and it doesn't try to introduce anything that could mess you up so much for dumb reasons. So, it's a decent fight, that's what I'll say. It's still not the best fight, and it's a pretty weak fight if you ask me, but that's not even the part that I hate the most. The part I hate the most is this encounter here, and also the encounter with the Titan henchman and the normal henchman. But for this encounter, it's optional. You can choose to do it if you want to, and if you take out all these guys, you will get a trophy called Party Pooper. But I can't imagine the advantages provided to you in this kind of room, because when I tried to tackle this combat encounter so many times, I just got a lot of moments where the mechanics betrayed me, and that's why I just opted to just skip it entirely. And plus, they're giving you a welcome, so why not? But here's where the last bad encounter of the game begins. If you want to count Joker, however, then really, like, Joker's final boss would be a bad encounter, depending on your perspective. But this is pretty much the same kind of fight format with the Pump Access Room, where they're putting free flow enemies alongside anti-free flow enemies, and you have no opportunity to engage with the combat system whatsoever. It's like, at this point, do developers want you to fight the enemies like how they designed it, or do they seriously want you to just approach this fight with the bare minimum of resources, where you're only using the Ultra Bat Claw and just pulling enemies while the Titan henchmen are stunned, and then you just knock them out when they're on the ground, and it just turns this into a fight where you use nothing but the Bat Claw. Why use the Explosive Gel? Why use the Batarang? Why use anything else? Why even use, like, the special abilities with the special takedowns and the like, when the game will punish you for doing that? Like, this is what you're resorting to. I mean, the only time I'm ever using the Bat Claw is when I'm pulling enemies, and the only time I'm using the Batarang is when I'm trying to stun the Titan Henchman, and that's it. And keep your eyes on the Titan Henchmen at all times, because they can be very deceptive, and I had one fail during this fight where I'm trying to pull off enemies from the railings, which you can do, which is a really good design choice. And the Titan Henchman is in the middle of picking up a body and throwing it at me, but I can't hear him because he doesn't make any noise that indicates he's doing that, and he's off camera, so I unfortunately got hit by that attack while I was busy trying to pull the enemies off the walkway that's right above me, which is really cool that it gives you this opportunity to do it, and I think it's a better system than using the electric fences in the Pump Access Room, because you don't have to resort to, like, the stupidest of strategies or the most awkward of strategies. It's just, you get your reticle from the Bat Claw on the enemy, and you just pull them off. Or you just use the quick Bat Claw feature, where you just tap R2 twice while making sure that you're fairly distant from the enemies that are on the walkway, and you'll be able to pull them off. And it's cool that you can do this. It really helps you control the flow of this encounter, and just helps you end the fight a lot quicker. And it's good that the enemies aren't getting wise to your tactics, and they're just standing there waiting to be pulled off. But I'm glad that it gives you this ability, and it's not so cumbersome like with the electric fences. And look at that, both of the Titan Henchmen are down, but because they've bypassed the first checkpoint in their health pool, the enemies are spawning right now. So I'm just going to get them out of the way. And I'm going to keep pulling off enemies from the walkway. Just because there are enemies not on the walkway doesn't mean they won't spawn later on. So you got to bear that in mind when you reach the next checkpoint in the health pool of these Titan henchmen. But we're just repeating the exact same process of throwing a Batarang into their heads when they're running, getting them to smash into a wall, and then meleeing them 3 times. I mean, I'm not choosing the melee. I'm just giving them the chance to stay in that state so that I can pull off the enemies from the walkway. Yeah, it's just a slow, cumbersome process. Like, does this really look appealing? Like, this is why you shouldn't give enemies this absurd of life while making the stuns good. You don't respect the stuns anymore with how much you're having to repeat this. It's just very boring, and it's very dull. Like, it's a very mediocre fight. Like, why would you settle on this for a harder difficulty? There's no difficulty to be had right here. It's just a waiting game at this point. You're just being patient. And there's a fine line between skill and patience, but I've already understood the skill aspects of this fight. But the patience part, where I'm just waiting to actually deplete the enemy's life, and it doesn't feel like I'm fighting them, that right there is not skill at all. And, you know, people like Tynehard, like the guy who left that really dumb comment in the first part of my Knives Out video for Resident Evil Village, they don't understand this distinction very well, and they like to drag out scenarios. They like to do all these minimalist runs that they feel benefits, like optimized runs in the future when you're just playing the game normally. When it's like, what? And like they act like you have to do these kind of stupid runs to even have the mindset necessary, or even like the ability to find these kind of like holes in the designs or these kind of interesting strategies. And like, no, like where are you getting all these really stupid ideas from? It's clear people like him don't have the self-awareness to reflect on their actions, and they're the kind of people that need to have a new experience because they need to have some possible way of getting a new experience out of their game, and that just shows how much they don't love the game. Because if they have to compromise the overall integrity of the game, if they have to make the game look like it's 1% finished to get some kind of new experience out of the game, that just shows how much they don't love the game anymore. Like, you take like too much of this stimuli, and you just eventually get numb to it. And people like Tyner are just victims of this kind of process, like drug addicts seeking a fix. And they have the nerve to defend their actions as well. Like, just the way Tynehard was commenting on my video, he was so defensive of his stances that are so anti-human and anti-realistic / unrealistic. And then he's coming up with these really stupid arguments of, oh, don't say I'm actually like enjoying my runs. I'm actually going through this because I want to feel like shit because I'm a sadomasochist. Like, that's what he said. He said he likes suffering when going through those kind of runs, and then he likes seeing the game on the more grounded level and showing it to other people. But don't make full runs out of that, genius. Like, look at my dodge videos for freaking Aureus, or for Aureus Drock, or for all these other bosses in Resident Evil Village. That's me in the perspective of wanting to showcase something important at a grounded level to the player base, but I'm not building runs out of that. Or like when I'm doing Bella knife only, I said in the video that I'm doing it as a way to reinforce the pattern against Bella, not that I take any pleasure from it. I even told people in my video, don't do this. Why validate new Capcom's new ideas for what defines a good boss fight? Like, this guy is just the biggest irony. Like, he has this ability to contradict himself so well. Like, you should see some of the runs he does on Resident Evil 4 with knife only, or Resident Evil Village knife only, and then he wants to say he wants to show the game at a grounded level and actually inform people of what the game is like at a grounded level. Well, then why are you doing these runs? Like, why are you doing full runs that are only possible if you're actually enjoying the run, and then you're not making any sort of description or any kind of statement that indicates that I'm doing this for the purposes of just showing how dumb the game is, or showcasing like mechanics, or and even if you're showing mechanics, just do smaller videos on that. Don't do full runs of it. What's wrong with you? Again, he just completely contradicts himself. And boy, will I have a lot to say when I upload that video of Castle Dimitrescu Knives Out on VOS, because I talk so much about this with my friend Pikal. But we've done that really dull encounter. Now we have Joker's boss fight. So Joker can do one of two things. He will either try to spawn in weapons for the enemies, or he will throw these moving explosive teeth. And I just destroyed it just then. And every time those teeth are on the ground, the quick batarang will prioritize the teeth, which is good. And alongside this, you'll knock out like 1 or 2 enemies with your other batarangs. And I had to restart this encounter like 3 times because of stupid issues, and one of them I've included in the blooper section, but somehow my quick batarang missed one of the enemies I was prioritizing, which makes no sense, and there's no way it should have missed, and the enemy got a cheap hit on me, which is bullshit. But the way Joker's fight works is you have to knock out his goons, and then he'll turn around, he'll try to address the helicopters, use the Ultra Batclaw to pull him down, and then punch him in the face until his health is depleted, at least the first phase of his health, and repeat the process. And you can't attack Joker during this phase, you just gotta avoid him for a little bit. Yeah, I can see why people don't like this format for Joker. You know, like, they take such an iconic character with such an interesting personality to him, and they gave him the Bowser treatment of just repeating something 3 times and then the boss is down. But in the context of Batman Arkham Asylum's combat system, is there really any other way you could make this more interesting? I'm just glad there's no Titan Henchman in the mix, because then the fight would be absolute garbage, and would just showcase Rocksteady's over-reliance upon an enemy type. And it's funny because it just feels like Rocksteady has this tendency of overusing ideas. They overuse the Titan Henchman so much in Batman Arkham Asylum, and people literally bashed Rocksteady for overusing the Batmobile so much in Batman Arkham Knight, and I 100% agree with those people. The Batmobile is used way too much in Batman Arkham Knight that it really makes certain gameplay elements very dull and very repetitive, and it really starts to feel formulaic, especially with some of the Riddler puzzles. Like, you know the amount of times you have to use the Batmobile to do Riddler puzzles, and you're using the Batmobile in combat, you're using the Batmobile for traversal, you're using the Batmobile for puzzles. Like, it's overused a little too much, and there's no elegance to how much the Batmobile is used in Batman Arkham Knight. Yeah, unfortunately, there's no elegance displayed with the use of the Titan Henchman in Batman Arkham Asylum. And funnily enough, this whole issue with overusing the Titan Henchman wasn't a thing in Batman Arkham Asylum because you only encountered Titan Henchman twice. So there was at least some elegance displayed with introducing Titan Henchman only during 2 encounters and not overused so much throughout the full game. But then again, like, in Batman Arkham Asylum, like, the main story had to be juggled with side activities, so I imagine it didn't provide them with a lot of opportunities to put Titan Henchmen in the main story, given that they were also focusing on the side missions as well. And that's why the main story of Batman Arkham City is kind of small and a little short compared to the game entirely, with the main story and the side content, which is something that Seraphim17 duly noted, and I do agree with him on that. But I'm once again repeating the whole process of getting rid of the henchmen, and then making sure I'm destroying the teeth, making sure I'm not hitting any enemies that are unblockable, and I'm also making sure that the camera doesn't screw me. Can I just say that I'm glad that the camera's fixed here? You know, one thing that I've never really liked about the Arkham games is when the camera is just turning all over the place whenever you're doing evade animations or whenever you're doing other actions in the free flow combat, because as the camera's turning, it affects your inputs. So if you end up pushing the left analog stick in the wrong direction because the camera's turning, you'll end up making a mistake in combat, and having a fixed camera angle will be so much better for the Batman Arkham series, if you ask me, because I feel like it's a lot more accommodating with the kind of combat system they're favoring. But yeah, Joker's done, and we're going to deliver the final blow onto Joker with the explosive gel punch, which they actually reintroduced in the comic, because I believe Batman uses the explosive gel punch against 2 Titan-infected individuals. I think they were both called, like, T, like, both of them were called T. They're like a brother and sister duo, and he used it against them, but they unfortunately killed themselves and killed hundreds of individuals, which gave Hugo Strange the incentive, like, at least like one additional step in that incentive to actually open up Arkham City. So fun fact if you didn't know that already. But here's the blooper. You see that? Why did my Batarang miss? Why did it miss? It's stupid stuff like this that I really notice a lot more in Batman Arkham Asylum than in the later games. Because at least if you made a mistake like that in the later games, you had other options at your disposal. But with that at least concludes this part of the video, and this concludes the entirety of this walkthrough. So this is the end of my Batman Arkham Asylum hard difficulty, no damage walkthrough. Stay tuned for the future games and other future content on my channel. Thank you all for watching, and you take care now.